So today we're going to be modeling the metacognitive technique and strategy of asking questions and answering questions based on a text to monitor our comprehension. The activity I've chosen to do is monitor for understanding, and we're going to use A Long Walk to Water. It's based on a true story by Linda Sue Park as our book to go along with our lesson plan. So when I get into the delivery of content, I'll be modeling this technique, and I'll go ahead and start with that. So hello class, we're going to continue reading a fun new book I have for you guys called A Long Walk to Water. Now what we're going to do is we're going to read the first 3 paragraphs. I'm going to put you guys into groups of 4, so it'll be 4 students to a group. And what you guys are going to do are you're going to answer questions based on what you're reading. For instance, you will each student will read a section of text. Each student will read a paragraph or 2. And then what we're going to do is I have a stack of cards here. So each card has its own questions, so each group is going to get a stack of cards. We're going to place those face down on your desk. And what we're going to do is every time before we switch readers, we're going to pick up a card, answer a question, and discuss it with each other. So we're going to model it for you really quick to give you an idea of how it goes, and then we'll go from there. So I'm just going to start in chapter 1, A Long Walk to Water. And we're just going to read the first little bit here. So, chapter 1, Southern Sudan is 2008. Going was easy. Going, the big plastic container held only air. Tall for her 11 years, Naya could switch the handle from one hand to the other, swing the container by her side, or cradle it in both arms. She could even drag it behind her, bumping it against the ground and raising a tiny cloud of dust with each step. There was little weight going. There was only heat, the sun already baking in the air, even though it was long before noon. It would take her half the morning if she didn't stop on the way. Heat, time, and thorns. I'll continue reading some of the next portion. Now we're in Southern Sudan, 1985. Salva sat cross-legged on the bench. He kept his head turned towards the front, hands folded back perfectly straight. Everything about him was paying attention to the teacher. Everything except his eyes and his mind. His eyes kept flicking towards the window, through which he could see the road. The road home, just a little while longer. A few minutes more, and he would be walking on that road. So now I'm going to go ahead and pause, and I'm going to take a couple questions from my question stack I have here. So, the first one I picked up is, what do you think is going to happen next? So, for the first portion I read about Naya's story, what do I think is going to happen next? Well, she's walking, she seems very tired. I know she has a container and it's empty, so what I think she's going next is she's walking somewhere, and she's going to end up somewhere where she's going to fill up her container, whether it be with food, water, supplies. That's what I think is going to happen next in her story. As far as Salva, what do I think is going to happen next? Well, I know he's in class, so he's in school, kind of daydreaming, kind of looking out at the road. So me reading this for the first time, I'm going to say Salva is going to hear that bell ring, and he's going to walk on home, get on that road and get on home to where he needs to go. Say I pulled another card, so I'm going to pull another one. So this one says, how does what you just read relate to your own life? This is a great question because it's making a connection. So I'm going to make a self-to-text connection with my own life. So Naya's paragraph, long walking, how does that relate to my life? I relate it back to always the military. We used to have to go on long walks, or ruck marches they call it, in different countries. They could range anywhere from an easy 3 miles to a difficult 15 to 20 miles at a time. And during these walks, we'd often have to hold pretty heavy weight. So we'd have a rucksack or a backpack that typically weighed between 60 and 100 pounds to go along with our other equipment. And so I can definitely relate to Naya's dragging the container she's holding, obviously tired. The heat I can relate to because I did a lot of these ruck marches in Georgia or even Thailand where it was over 100 degrees. So I can relate to both kind of the heat and the walking aspect of it. As far as Salva, well, kind of daydream in school. I think we can all relate to that a little bit. Our minds tend to wander, especially when we think we're getting towards the end of a class or towards the end of a school day. We're kind of thinking about what we're going to have for dinner, what friend we're going to hang out with, what new TV show is on. So I can definitely relate to Salva's mind wandering a little bit. So there you have it. So now what I want you guys to do is get into your groups of 4. We're going to go ahead and start with chapter 1. Take turns. After everybody reads a paragraph, we're going to stop within your group, pick up a question card, and answer it the best you can. And then as a group, I want you guys to talk about it, talk about where you found it in the text, and talk about if someone may have some different answers. Then, once that's finished, we'll go on to the next reader. They'll read their paragraph, pick up a question, and keep going from there. We're going to go, they're very short paragraphs, so we're going to go all the way to, we'll go through chapters 1 and 2. So once you finish chapters 1 and 2, let me know, and we'll go from there. So there you have it. That is A Long Walk to Water, a metacognitive strategy of asking questions and answering questions.